Hello, sweet friends. This is Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel. I thought I would try to do a room tour of my new room that I just moved into last weekend. I've been putting stuff away and trying to get stuff ready for my shop opening that I'm hoping to do later this week. So things are still kind of a mess, but I think things are in as good of place as they're gonna get, and so I can kind of show you a little bit of the space I have to work with. So this was my daughter's bedroom, and of course she's married and doesn't live here anymore, but it's in the basement and it is a very large bedroom. So my bedroom that I was in was actually my youngest son's bedroom, and it was really small, and it was actually upstairs. So this was our guest bedroom, and we just switched it out. So that bedroom upstairs now has all the guest stuff, and then this has all of my craft stuff. And I will be honest, I am absolutely blessed beyond belief to have a space like this. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would have anything like this. And I do. And I am so lucky for my family for letting me have this space, for my husband for helping me put it all together, and just, yeah, this is just, oh sorry, that's the cat in the I also share the room with the cat, so the cat's stuff is in here, but I'm extremely lucky, and I don't want this to be a show and tell video, haha, look at my stuff type of thing. I just want to show you how with just a few store-bought materials and a lot of repurposed materials, you can find storage solutions for odd-sized things like we have when we craft and we sew and we journal. And that's really what I want to show you, is that I have very few things that I went out and bought. Most of what I have in here is all been repurposed, and it had some other home or some other life, before I brought it into my room. So I'll just kind of go through. We'll start here at the door. When I walk in, this is my tool chest. I talked about this in a previous room tour video, but this is my tool chest that I've had since I started teaching, and it was at school for the longest time, and then I brought it home. It's full of stamps and paint and stuff like that, so I'll link that other video so you can see what's in there, because I didn't change anything. These green boxes I got at a thrift store, and they house like my punches, and they're perfect. And here's what I decided: if my punches don't fit in the green boxes, then I don't get those punches. So for example, I had one that wouldn't fit, and so that meant I had to get rid of another one. So that's a great space saving, and keeps you from collecting too much stuff. Let your storage dictate how much stuff you have, and set a limit and say, okay, this is it, not going any farther. This is my thrifted fabric storage. These are all tubs that you can get at Walmart for like 98 cents, but when I was an elementary teacher, I had book boxes, and so I have tons and tons and tons of these clear plastic tubs, and I just had them stored at school because I don't teach elementary anymore and I don't have book boxes, so I just brought those home, washed them, and then I keep certain fabrics and stuff in there. But these are all of my thrifted fabrics. I actually I have to give a little confession here. All of my vintage sheets and tablecloths and things like that, they're stored up in my bedroom. Sometime I'll show you that, but not today. So this is a painting from my daughter. This is a baker's rack that just has, like, the bottom is kitchen and recipe stuff and things that I've pulled out of binder books. These are like 8x8 papers and 4x6 papers from my old scrapbooking days. This was an old basket that I got at a thrift store and just repainted it. And then this is a shoebox. So this is an interesting piece here. This was made by my great-grandfather, I believe, but I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see it's made out of wooden spools. And so my mom had it forever and she put plants on it. And then I inherited it a long time ago and I've painted it several different colors. It's so unsturdy. I actually have it tied to that baker's rack because it's just so fragile and so unsturdy. But yeah, it fits perfect in this little corner over here. So this is one of 3 metal storage shelving units that I did buy, and I bought these at Lowe's. I think they were about $80. They hold up to 350 pounds, but I'm sure I have more than 350 pounds. So I have 3 of them in 3 corners of the room. This one is specifically just for paper. So you can see I have my cookbook collection up at the top. This is just tubs with things, you know, again, everything has to have a place. So if it's little stuff, I just try to put it in a tub. These are some metal paper. They're like paper file storage items. They're like office supplies. I got them at a thrift store and painted them yellow. When I did a craft booth, I would put them in my craft booth. Then they were just sitting in the garage forever, and so now I have turned them into some of my paper storage. This is all of my, like my McCall's books and magazines, and then just some specialty papers that I have, some maps. So down here, again, using thrifted items, I needed a place to store my papers, and my papers are all different sizes. So again, being a teacher and having a ton of storage for books and papers and stuff for my classroom, these are things I just hung on to. So they're just plastic, like magazine holder type things. You can kind of see I have different sizes. And so I just line those up. Oops, sorry. I just line those up so that they kind of support one another, and then I just slide my paper in there. And this one is actually like a cereal box that I duct taped. And then this one is just a cardboard one, and then this one is plastic. So yeah, and that seems to work well. And then for the shelf, to give it, because it's a wire shelf, I just put some game boards underneath it to kind of give it a little more substance. This is just a shoebox type of thing. And this is where I have all of my like cards and bits of paper and labels. Down here is my golden books and my telltale books that I use for journals. So I have a huge collection of golden books, but they are upstairs. They are ones I don't use for journals, but these are ones I do use for journals. So just kind of have those tucked in here. And then this bottom shelf, this is my wrapping paper and wallpaper, and these 2 tubs right here. This one's wrapping, or this one's wallpaper. This is wallpaper scraps, and then this is also wallpaper scraps. And then I have my wallpaper books just over here to the side. So then these shelves I've pulled out of my kids' room. I think these have been with my kids, oh my gosh, since they were little, in their bedrooms, and they served some purpose at one point or another, and we've just kind of held on to them. So I just stacked these shelves on top of each other, and you can kind of see they're stacked on top of each other. And then this just houses just a lot of little stuff. And again, I just reused, I didn't go out and buy anything fancy. I just reused any type of box or anything that I had sitting around. That's a recipe box. I just would use to stick, you know, those cards in. This is like some cardboard box. I think it was from like football cards or baseball cards or something. So yeah, and then this is my basket of when I stitch my books together. So I just always keep all of my stitching supplies in here. So this is all of my thread that I use. This is my needles and my wax and my awl and some little scissors, telephone book, my punch markers, and all this good stuff. So I just keep this all in one little basket. Then there is my stickers. And then there are, that's a shoebox from a million years ago that I decoupaged and put duct tape on, and then I stuck all of my alphabet stickers in there. So then this is a desk from my daughter's bedroom, and I've just turned it into, it's become my desk, but I set it up next to this window. I'll see if I can zoom back a little bit so you can see this, but I set it up next to the window, so this is where I will do my filming. This is a curtain that came out of her room. It's old, it's faded, but it's clean, and I like the white because it'll let some sunlight come through. So up here I have my Rebookery. It's like a banner, and I made it out of book pages and some lace, and this was what I had when I had my craft booth. I would have this over the front entrance, so I just took it and I tacked it up on the wall. So let me switch over here. So now we're in the sewing corner of my room. Again, another one of those shelves from Lowe's. And then this is where I put, up here I put some fabric that I don't use all the time. Like there's my felt, and then there's, sorry about that. So I have some fabric up here. This is fabric that I don't use very often. Like that's my felt, and then that's just some really heavy duty tapestry, upholstery fabric. But I have them stored in bags that came with, like my husband got some new sheets and comforter for some beds and stuff that we had in our guest room. And so I just used those plastic bags that they came in, and then I stuck my fabric in there. I have actually quite a few of those that I've just kept over the years, and I like them because they're, we're reusing them, and then it's just, you know, they're big enough that I can stick fabric and things in. So I used to do that with my kids a lot with small ones and put like puzzle pieces and things like that. And then a sewing box, because I'm obsessed with sewing boxes, with some trim, and then just some of my favorite books up there. These are all of my sewing books that I will turn into journals at some point. Some old metal boxes that I got, some tin, like, they're pretty heavy, but they're just these sliding boxes. I'm sure they came out of some sort of a cabinet. And then I just filled mine with, like patterns and things like that. And then just some more containers over here. This is my, when I sew, so here's where I sit. When I sew, I actually have 3 machines. So this is my Singer. This is the one I just probably use, you know, it's the easiest one to get to and use, just plain old straight stitches. There's my brother for fancy stitches, and then there's my Kenmore for my free motion. So when I came over here, I just like to be able to turn around and grab trim and things like that. So everything over here is so that I can just turn around and grab it. So you can see I've got all kinds of different containers. This one right here is actually, I have 2 of these. This is a plastic planter that I used, oh my gosh, probably 15 years ago, because where we lived, we had this cool brick wall, and so I put these planters up on top of the brick wall, and yeah, so I've just held on to them forever, and so they make perfect. I turned it on its side, so you can kind of see here. I turned it on its side, and I was able to fit my folded fabric in there. So yeah, this is kind of a hot mess, but it's just so hard to contain fabric and trims. So down here, what I did was I just took the back of this and put some books back here so that it kind of elevated it a little bit. And so now these guys, they're not just back in that dark corner, and they're kind of, you know, angled up a little bit, easy to grab. Here are some cookbooks that I use to make journals out of, and then again, just some recycled shoe boxes. So here is my box of quilt scraps, and I have accumulated so many quilt scraps that I had to get a bigger tub. And this is just another box that has some shelf paper on it with trim, and then trim and lace, and back there is trim that I've put onto like cardboard, and I'll show you what I mean. So I just took cardboard and stapled a little buffer at both ends, and then I just wrapped my lace or trim around it, and then it just slides back in here. Okay, so then in her bedroom, or in my daughter's old bedroom, there's this little shelf. So I was able to put a couple of thrifted baskets. Then I just painted those, and they just kind of hold some string and stuff. Things that I use just, you know, kind of as I'm sewing. This was just a picture that I liked off of a book that I had. This was a sign that belonged to my grandma. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but my name is actually Stella. I'm named after my grandma. And my grandma was a sewer, so that's why I have it over here. But this was a sign that she had at her cabin at the lake in her little place on the dock where she would fish. And so when she passed away, my mom, who's also named Stella, grabbed this sign and she gave it to me. So it had been out in my garage forever where I park. And then when I redid the room, I brought it in. I thought it was time to bring it in because I feel like whenever I'm sitting over here sewing, that my grandma's with me. So up here is something kind of odd. I'll step back so you can kind of see it. This is a screen door. It is old, and that is the original paint. Like, I have not painted it. That's the original screen too. What I did do was all the holes I went and patched, and it took forever. I patched it with fabric and yarn, and I actually had, I don't know if you can see the holes and stuff in there, but my husband and I had 4 of these. We turned this into shelves, and this was what we used in our craft booth. So this one was nice and lightweight, and it was my favorite because it was turquoise. So we're going to get rid of the other ones, but this one I wanted to hang up on the wall. It has no purpose other than it's just pretty. Those are some aprons, some old aprons that I found a couple weeks ago, and the one up top is made from feed sacks. The one down here is, I don't believe that's feed sack material, but that is vintage material. And I found those at a thrift store, and I just thought they were awful cute, and I had some blank space here, so I went ahead and just tacked them up there on the wall. And then there's my tool and some yarn. This is where my other sewing table, so you can see I have 2 sewing tables. And then this is my third, and this is where I do my free motion. This is my Kenmore right here. And then I have my Sizzix die cut. This is always something I want to have out because I always feel like it's a pain in the butt to grab it. So that was the thing. That and my paper trimmer, I wanted to keep those out. So this is going to stay on this table. And then here's my stack of felt from my other grandma. And it'll actually go in this little basket right here, but the basket's still kind of wet with paint. So I'm letting this dry, and then I'll stick the fabric in there. And you're probably wondering, why do I have a detergent box? Because I hate throwing these things even in the recycling. So this is where I'm keeping like a little stash of fabric that I'm turning into fabric square bundles. They're like 3 3/4 squares, and I'll show them to you here in just a second. But this is, I'm just keeping my fabric here so that it's by my Sizzix, so that I can just run it through when I want to make a little bundle. And then I just use, here's my square that I use for it. And it makes these cute little fabric bundles, which I'll be putting in my shop. Underneath here, I just have my typewriter and some old stamps and just, you know, just a little cart that has stuff. This is what we call the kitty cuddler. This is where my cat Friendly sleeps, although he does not sleep here. I don't know, ever since we took the beds out of this room, he's been freaked out. So yeah, I think he's just sleeping on the carpet at night. And then you can see he just tipped over the trash can. So, okay. So this is kind of the view. If I stand back over here, you can see I have a little cabinet underneath that table that holds books that I'm in the process of making. And then this cart was a cart I got from IKEA, and it just holds all my tools and stuff, tape measure, scissors, good stuff like that. So then if I go, let me go back over this way. Oh, this is, yeah, I guess I'll show you this. So on this table, I have sewing baskets again because I'm just obsessed with them. This one was my grandma's. She gave it to my daughter, and then I recovered the top. This one I got at actually this one was being thrown away. Somebody was throwing it away, and I felt so sorry for the little lady because she had all this gorgeous stuff in here, and this guy was throwing it away. And I was like, ooh, I want that. And so I grabbed it he had a big trash container. And he said, yeah, you can have it. So I just grabbed it out of the trash container. So those are my sewing boxes, and I keep stuff like things for my sewing machines and things like that in there. And then here's all my thread. And I just color coordinated my thread so that like I had my purples and blues and greens up here, and then my reds and pinks and yellows and oranges down here. It just makes it easier if I know which box, to look in and things like that. Okay, so over here, this is a little shelf that my grandpa made, and I've had it forever, and I think I've had it since I was a teenager, and it's had so many layers of paint, but just stuck that up there with some little, these are book pages that I framed, like collaged them and then framed, and I would sell them in my craft booth. And so I have just a few left over. So these I put up here. This is a picture that it's a book page, and again I collaged it and then framed it, and so I thought that one was really pretty, so I stuck that one up there. This is a shelf my daughter made in high school, I believe, and so again just stuck some jars of sequins and stuff because I don't use those very often, and then some of these little pictures that are framed, or book pages that are framed. I actually have a handful of these, and I think I'm going to put these in my Etsy shop. I'm not going to put this one in because the frames are kind of off a bit, but these are like, I will go to estate sales or garage sales and just pick up their old frames and then come home, clean them up, and stick book pages in, and I would sell them in my craft booth. But yeah, and now that I don't do the craft fairs or anything anymore, I just kind of have some left over. So I am going to be putting those in my Etsy shop. This is a bag that my mom gave me from my grandma. I just tacked it up here with some nails. It's old, and when she gave it to me, there was just all kinds of little sewing and embroidery materials in there. I don't know if my grandma ever used it. I'll be honest, I never remember seeing this at my grandma's house, but my mom had it, and she said it was my grandma's, and so I just kind of hung on to it, didn't really have a place for it, and then I just felt like it went right there. It went perfect. So yeah, so that's there. Okay, so then I also share this room with my son's clothes, so his closet is right there. And then this is so here's the door again. This is the other wall. So there's a piece of artwork that my son made a long time ago. This is the third shelf. This was all books and buttons and things that I do whenever I'm shipping orders and stuff. So like when I ship orders, I always like to throw extra stuff in. And so this is where I keep all of my extra things. This is where I keep all of my buttons when I make button packs to sell in my Etsy shop. Believe it or not, I actually weigh my buttons with that little scale. And these are all like kids books that I will make journals out of. These are some more of my cookbook collection up here. This thing right here is my tripod, and I just haven't set it up yet. So my husband just kind of hung it on that shelf, which it actually works well there. And then just some more books and things. And then, yeah. So this is another one of those planters. And this has all my field guides and stuff in it. So, yeah. And it's perfect size, perfect size. So these are some fabric books, kind of like wallpaper books, but these were fabric samples. And so I just tucked those in over there. Here's some tubs, watercolors, colored pencils, crayons, and then this is just like some spray inks. There's a basket, and that's all garden and birds. There's the cat's food and water. And then this is a table that was my grandma's, and it used to be what I would film on, but now I've switched out to the desk. So it just sits over here, and I've got my stack of envelopes, and that was a basket that was thrifted and I just painted, and then yeah, just envelopes and cards, and then there's the cat box, which we don't really need to see that. And so then now we are right back where we started. So I can show you the center of the room. I have 3 tables, and these 3 tables were the ones I had in my craft booth. So I think they're like 5 feet by 2.5 feet. So I just put the 3 of them together. And then on this end, this is going to be my fabric area. This is where I will cut my fabric because I need a really large space. So I have this end set up for fabric. Right now I've got a stack of wallpaper there because I'm cutting some wallpaper. And then in the center would be like all of my tools and stuff that I like to grab when I'm journaling. And then on this side, this is my journaling side. And so I've got my my mat that I work on, one of my paper trimmers, and then here's my big paper trimmer that has been in the kitchen forever and finally has a home. So this was like that Sizzix machine. I wanted it to be able to be out so I didn't have to find it and pull it out whenever I wanted to use it. So in the center, I just took some little footstools and just kind of built it up so that I could kind of go vertical with some of the storage. And I know it's it's kind of a mess, but I don't know. We'll see if it works. I just had to have some height to get all of this stuff so that I could, be able to use it. And then down under here, this is the mess. So under these tables, I have storage bins. And in the storage bins, I have everything sorted according to like themes. So like I know this big box that's like right here. That big box is all Homebodies stuff. So these are the things I use for my Homebodies books. That's for sewing books. This over here is wrapping paper. These are all books that I am putting on my Etsy shop. So these are books that are going to be for sale. This is wrapping paper. This is books that is going to be for sale. So you can kind of see it's a mess, but yet it's contained, and yeah, I'm cool with that because at least it's out of the way, but I still can be able to access it easily. And I think that's about it. Trying to look over here. This little shelf is, I found this at an estate sale. It was like, $8, and I took it home and I painted it. So this was a thrift store find, and I just took a cereal box and I made the drawer. This was a thrift shop find. That's a refrigerator box. And then there's just a metal thing that I actually had some scarves and gloves and stuff in. So just pulled that out. So yeah, there's my room tour. And now that I kind of got it put together, I can't wait to get started making some stuff. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I totally appreciate you listening to me ramble, and hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Hope you're happy, hope you're healthy, and do something creative today. Bye.